Hi, my name is Alan Christensen, and I'm standing here in Sacramento, California on the pickleball courts where I normally play pickleball. What I'd like to do today is to show you some techniques for dinking that I think will help improve your game. The thing about dinking is it's a really important part of the game. You have to be a good dinker if you expect to be a good player. And the reason is that as soon as you play against some players who are good dinkers, they'll beat you because they'll get you into a short game, they'll get you into a dinking game, you won't be able to get out of it, and they'll score a lot of points. So you really have to be a good dinker in order to be able to play. So the most important thing with dinking is to have a very simple dink stroke. I see a lot of players who are starting out, and they'll try and dink by taking the paddle way back, and then they'll try and come up and they'll try and slow down and dink the ball easy. That's a very, very difficult shot to execute. You can't take the paddle way back and then try and slow your hand down and decelerate into the ball and think you're going to control it. The other thing that people do when they dink is that they either use their wrist a lot or they turn a lot in the process of dinking the ball. It's really important that you keep the face of your paddle facing the right direction as long as you can if you want to control what direction it's going to go in. So the way that I dink is very, very simple. What I do is I try and dink with my hands in front of my body, okay? Never take it back here. I try and dink with my hands in front of my body, and I keep the tip of my paddle in front of my hand, closer to the net than my hand. What that does is it gets your paddle on an angle where it's at the right angle to pop the ball over the net. My dink stroke is then a very simple little push, okay, that is very easy to control. It's very easy to control the direction of, and something that you can be very, very consistent with. So let me demonstrate here with my wife Lorraine. So we'll dink some. You notice how my hand is kept in front of my body, and the face of my paddle does not change direction. So we can do this 100 times in a row and not miss a dink. It's a very, very simple thing to do if you have easy technique. If you take your hand way back there and try and dink, you lose control. Now, another thing that's important about dinking in this fashion is that if your natural reaction is to have the tip of the paddle closer to the net than your hand, if somebody hits one really hard at my knees, then what will happen is I'll just go like this, okay, because that's my natural reaction because I'm used to having the tip forward, and guess what? It'll just pop back over the net. If your normal reaction on dinks is to bend your wrist back, okay, bend your wrist back and then try and dink like this, which is the way a lot of people dink. They dink like this. Then as soon as somebody hits the ball hard, you have time to reach back, but then you don't have time to get forward. And even if you do, you've got to come forward so quick you can't control the ball. So, you know, you'll end up doing this, okay? Or you'll hit it into the ground. So on dinking, you really want to keep the tip of the paddle closer to the net than where your wrist is, and just push through it. You notice how my paddle ends up facing the same direction when I'm done with my shot as it did at the beginning. It doesn't go like this, okay? It doesn't end up pointed at the sky, doesn't end up pointed up there. It's going to end up pointed the same way it was at the beginning of the stroke. So it doesn't matter when the ball hits my paddle. It's really easy to do. You practice this a little bit, and all of a sudden you'll discover that your dinks are really consistent. So how do you win a dinking contest with somebody? Well, one way is a lot of people have trouble going from their forehand to their backhand. So one way to try and give people trouble is to hit the ball to one side and then to the other side. Another thing you can do is try and push it back close to their feet where they have to short hop it. Not so high as that. Kind of like that. Try and get back at her feet, make her back off the net a little bit. So anyway, if you just go out and if you take 5 minutes every time you play, you're going to play for 2 hours, you take 5 minutes right at the beginning, you go out and you practice these fundamentals, your dinking should get very good in no time.